How long are you going to be there? Wait outside, incompetent old man. During a crucial business meeting with a client that could potentially generate $30 million in sales, the department head, Patty, was trying to pin all the responsibility on me. It turned out that we couldn't make the product with the initially proposed materials, and it seems she wanted to make it look like I was the one who had written the proposal. So, as told, I stepped outside to look for a certain person. However, I didn't need to look far, as someone was already walking down the hallway towards me. "Oh, Michael, isn't that you? Is the negotiation over already?" I was acquainted with the president of the client company, Jason Holmes. After confirming the change in materials, Jason and I entered the meeting room together. "Who do you think this person is?" "Huh?" Unaware of the downfall she was about to face, Patty insisted it wasn't her fault. "My name is Michael Stone. At 45, I changed careers and took a new step in my life. My new workplace was S Manufacturing, originally a small metalworking factory. The company had tried to revitalize itself by producing its own products after suddenly losing a major client, which turned out to be a huge success. Now, when you hear S Manufacturing, you think of that company that makes those pots, known to anyone who loves cooking. I was sure my dreams would come true here, and I arrived on my first day, full of excitement. I was assigned to the product development department, and the president led me right up to the department. Unfortunately, a call came at a bad time, apparently from a client he was close with, and he told me the rest would be explained by the department head. It was my first career change, so I was shaking with nerves as I opened the door. "I'll start working here from today. My name is Michael Stone. Nice to meet you." Reacting to my words, a woman approached me. "I'm Patty, the department head. Nice to meet you too." I had heard from the president that Patty, at just 30, was the hopeful head of product development. I was worried about what it would be like to work under someone so young, but her smile put me at ease. "I've heard about you from the president. It's an honor to work under someone like you." In hindsight, although I was a new employee, I was 15 years older. I should have felt odd about her somewhat impolite way of speaking. "I've heard about you too. Going to afternoon tea is a hobby of yours, huh?" "Well, I often go as part of a hobby. My real hobby is—" Before I could finish, Patty burst out laughing, and I was so surprised I stopped speaking. A 45-year-old man having afternoon tea as a hobby, I had a hard time not laughing in front of the president. How can you proudly declare such an embarrassing hobby? Being denied something you love is a shock to anyone. As I fell silent, Patty added insult to injury. "Our company is often featured in the media, you know. I can't imagine someone who has to change jobs at 45 has any real skills. It would be problematic if it became known that a creepy old man like you planned the products, and they stopped selling. So, none of the products you think up will ever make it to market. That's all I wanted to tell you." Patty dumped all the necessary explanations on a nearby colleague. In the next moment, as if I wasn't there, she went back to her desk. Although Patty had said that, if I didn't propose any products while in the product development department, it would be as if I wasn't working at all. I tried submitting my proposals several times, thinking she might change her mind if she saw my proposals, but they were rejected every time. "Can you stop wasting paper and my time? I'm busy with a project for Mr. Holmes." Patty didn't even look at the proposals I handed her and threw them back at me. The impact caused the clips on the letter-sized copy papers to come off, and they slowly fell to the floor. My heart nearly broke from such treatment, but a familiar company name snapped me back. "Are you talking about Holmes Corporation?" "Yes, that's a valuable client of ours. You should know that, right? Holmes Corporation specializes in kitchenware. They don't manufacture themselves, instead selecting products they think are good and selling them in their stores." According to Patty, they were planning to open a store specializing in tea, and our company had been chosen to manufacture the flagship stainless steel teapot for the store. With a unit price of around $100, a collaboration product with Holmes Corporation would undoubtedly sell well, with final sales expected to reach $30 million. By the way, the president told me to have you prepare the proposal for Mr. Holmes. I guess he means it as training, but I wonder what the president is thinking. Understood, I'll have it done today. As I quickly agreed, Patty sneered at me. No need to make it. I'll do everything. I'll let you sit in on the negotiations, but don't you dare say a word. Understood. Then, could you please show me the proposal you've prepared? Patty looked utterly baffled by my words. What are you talking about? There's no need for a rookie who's just sitting in on training to speak. In other words, there's no need to show you the proposal. Just make yourself invisible and don't get in my way. Got it. A month later, I sat in on the negotiations with Holmes Corporation as Patty had instructed, just listening silently. The product Patty had thought up for this important client was not only visually appealing but also highly functional, and there were no faults to be found. Personally, I would have bought it if it were for sale. The response from the client's representative was good, and the discussions progressed smoothly. It seemed there was no need for me to be involved, so I casually flipped through the proposal. The situation took a sudden turn a few days later when a call came for Patty. She stood up abruptly. What are you saying now? Who do you think I am? Just wait a minute. After arguing with the person on the other end of the phone for a few minutes, she clutched her company's cell phone and dashed out of the office. I asked the colleague who had answered the phone first, and it turned out the caller was our factory manager. Given the timing, it had to be about the product being jointly developed with Holmes Corporation. Worried, I wondered if everything was all right, but Patty returned with a frighteningly big smile. Michael, tomorrow we have to go to Mr. Holmes' place urgently. I look forward to your company. Her tone was so sweet that I had nothing but a bad feeling about it. I'll send the new proposal via email as soon as it's ready. Please review it by tomorrow. Am I allowed to look at it this time? I thought about it, and you really should preview it first to learn. You do well someday by reading my perfect proposal. Within an hour, the new proposal was sent to me. The last proposal was quickly taken back by Patty, and I don't have file viewing rights, so I can't be sure, but it doesn't seem like there were any changes. It's strange that there were no changes despite the phone argument. Feeling uneasy, I attended the second negotiation the following day. As I was about to sit in the client's conference room, Patty grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to remain standing. Actually, the presentation we gave last time was thought up by this person, Michael. He's a promising newcomer personally scouted by our president. Since he had no experience with presentations, I took his place, but from now on, we thought he should present himself. Patty whispered to me, "Since I've given you this chance, make sure you nail it." Confused, I read the proposal under Patty's instruction. I didn't understand why I had to explain everything from scratch again since there were no changes from the last time. I wondered if the representative wouldn't question hearing the same story again, but perhaps because they recognized me as a newcomer, they watched my presentation with a smile. What on earth is happening? Wait, hasn't the stainless steel composition changed from last time? Prompted by the representative's question, I finally realized Patty's intention. The more chromium and nickel in the stainless steel, the less it rusts. Originally, in Patty's proposal, as it turned out, the composition was 20% of each. That was a ratio that reduces the iron-specific taste and smell to a level not even noticeable by top chefs, making the processing more difficult. It's a product that only S manufacturing could make, which would surely be appreciated by customers, and it's precisely why the representative was particularly interested. I'm terribly sorry for my oversight, but Michael made the proposal without consulting the craftsman. Just the other day, the craftsman told us that it's impossible to make the product as planned with this composition. We should prioritize heat retention and shape, and switch to 18-8 stainless steel. Is that so? 18-8 is still of good quality, but that's disappointing. I'm very sorry. The representative's reaction turned sour. Seizing the moment, Patty began to push me out. How long are you going to be here? Wait outside, incompetent old man. It seemed that if this negotiation failed, Patty would intend to pin all the blame on me. As told, I stepped outside to look for a certain person. However, I didn't have to look far, as someone was already walking down the hallway towards me. "Oh, isn't that Michael? Is the negotiation over already?" I knew Jason Holmes, the president of Holmes Corporation. "No, I was kicked out." "Kicked out? You?" Surprised, Jason listened as I briefly explained the situation. Then I called our factory to confirm the change in the stainless steel. As expected, the answer was what I thought. To point out Patty's mistake in front of Mr. Holmes, we entered the conference room. "Are you still here? Hurry back to the office." Seeing Jason enter following me, Patty quickly shut up. "Mr. Holmes, long time no see. Has my subordinate caused you any trouble?" Jason sat down with a displeased look. "Oh, quite a lot of trouble indeed. I'm very sorry about that. When I return to the office, I'll make sure Michael is appropriately disciplined." Leaning forward, Jason glared sharply at Patty. "Not Michael. You're the one who has caused trouble." Taken aback by his intensity, Patty flinched. "Have you already heard about the stainless steel issue? While it's true that there was a lack of training on my part, the change in the stainless steel was all Michael's fault." "Really? Even at this point, you're still blaming Michael? You know the many products I've developed, Mr. Holmes. Are you going to believe the words of a newcomer over someone as experienced and competent as me?" Despite having something to hide, Patty boldly called herself competent, which I respected in a way. If one could be as thick-skinned as her, life would surely be easier. "Who do you think this person is?" "Excuse me? Are you talking about Michael?" "Who else? Michael here is quite a celebrity among tea lovers. As Jason explained, my love for tea led me to start going to afternoon tea with my wife, and the SNS I updated for records became very popular. The stores I featured saw a surge in reservations and caught the attention of businesses. While I enjoy drinking tea at home, I am particular about teacups and teapots. I once wrote on SNS that I wanted to make the ultimate teapot someday, which led S Manufacturing to approach me, and eventually Holmes Corporation got involved too. No matter how many years it takes, I want to create something I'm satisfied with, which is why I ended up changing jobs, not just cooperating." "You were told by the president to definitely involve Michael in this project." "Yes, but Patty seemed to think it was just for training." Unable to endure the embarrassment of the client, Patty turned flushed. Our president didn't explain it thoroughly. It was obvious to think it was just for training. Normally, you wouldn't have a newcomer create a proposal for an important negotiation with a client, right? "Really? So it was just for training that you let him sit in on the negotiation, is that it?" "Yes, what about it?" Patty still didn't realize the contradictions in her story. "Strange. You yourself said that Michael wrote this proposal. Your story doesn't add up." Startled, Patty began to fumble for an excuse. "Well, initially it was just supposed to have him sit in on the negotiation, but then I changed my mind halfway and let him try writing the proposal." Ignoring Patty's defense, Jason signaled to me with his eyes. "I confirmed with the factory manager over the phone earlier. You have been imposing impossible demands on the craftsman for some time. The product Patty came up with this time was so challenging that even skilled craftsmen found it difficult to process. Moreover, to claim the credit for the $30 million deal for herself, Patty had said after the last presentation that, 'I've already discussed it with the other party, so no changes can be made,' and apparently tried to force the production. The outrageousness angered the craftsmen to the extent that they firmly refused to make it, and even told the factory manager that manufacturing was outright impossible. That was the phone call Patty was embroiled in the other day. I am very sorry for the inconvenience, but may I have another chance? This time, I would like to propose the product I've designed." "Of course, that's fine. It wouldn't make sense if it wasn't a product you had thought up, Michael. I'll make sure to speak well of you to the president." With that, the day's negotiations concluded. Announced that she would be reported back to our president, Patty returned to the office with heavy steps. Over the next few days, I drafted a proposal for the kind of teapot I had envisioned before joining the company. I then went to the factory with this proposal to see if it was feasible to mass produce. This is what I'm thinking. But do you think it's possible to realize it, considering mass production? When I asked the craftsmen, although they weren't particularly friendly, they meticulously taught me what needed to be improved and that the costs would be higher than I had anticipated. Patty, who was sitting in on our discussion, listened quietly. Currently under consideration for disciplinary action, Patty had been told by the president to first apologize to the craftsman, and she had accompanied me. She hadn't been informed yet, but both our president and Mr. Holmes appreciate Patty's work. It seems they think that if Patty reflects on her past behavior and changes her attitude towards the craftsman, they might consider a lighter punishment. Thank you for today. I will revise the points you've mentioned and come back later for another check. Saying that to the craftsman, I turned to look back at Patty. I intended to prompt her to apologize, but Patty, feeling utterly humiliated, misunderstood. Whenever I submit a proposal, all you say is no, it can't be done. Worried, I tried to cover Patty's mouth quickly, but she pushed my hand away. You give proper advice on this old man's proposals. What about you all? You must be jealous of me because I'm highly educated, beautiful and successful at a young age, unlike you guys who barely finished high school. Mixing personal feelings into work is the worst. Seeing Patty show no signs of remorse, the craftsman's anger was about to peak. I was considering dragging her out of there when the factory manager stepped in. Patty, our company has grown large because of the skills of these craftsmen. They are our pride. Even so, it doesn't mean they can do everything. We need to discuss what can and cannot be done and come to an agreement. I want to discuss it too, you know, but they always just say it can't be done, and they don't let me talk properly. It's not my fault. There's no discussion when you just send your proposals by email and demand they be made exactly as specified. Think about me too. I had to make calls each time to intervene. The factory manager paused there and sighed deeply. My dog seems to show more willingness to listen than you do. It's astonishing for someone with such high education. Being rated lower than a dog, Patty couldn't help but be indignant. I have a meeting with the president later. I'll tell him how you guys have been dragging down our development. I pulled Patty's arm and decided to reveal the truth. The president was listening to all of this conversation. You're lying. You think I would apologize to these people? Too bad. It's not going to happen. It's not a lie. The president was willing to lessen your punishment if you showed remorse. That's why he was listening. As I showed her the smartphone that was still on the call, Patty collapsed on the spot. How can this be? I'm not in the wrong. You are in the wrong. What do you think would have happened to our company if the craftsman had resigned because of your defiance? Someone who can't consider the company's profit does not deserve to be a department head. Patty just stared at the floor in frustration. About a month later, the prototype of the product I designed was completed. When I showed it to Mr. Holmes, he said, "I definitely want to go ahead with this." And the contract was successfully signed. It has been decided that starting next month, Patty will be transferred to the factory. It's a message from the president hoping that she will truly reflect while working with the craftsman, but I doubt it's getting through to her. With a dark look that seems to be plotting something, she watches me intently every day. Patty's scheming came to light just a few days before her transfer. Is the same product being released? I was suddenly summoned to the president's office, only to be told that a tea shop was about to start selling a product that looked just like the one I had designed. It could only have been Patty who leaked the information. Back in the office, I immediately tried to confront Patty, but she just smirked. You sold my proposal to another company, didn't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. If that's how it's going to be, I have my own plans. I promptly visited the company that operates the tea specialty shop I suspected Patty had sold the information to. The other party was extremely shocked. Patty had an acquaintance working in their product development and had personally sold him the information. They had believed the product was independently developed by their own staff, so this was completely unexpected. When I confronted the person responsible, he quickly confessed, perhaps out of fear. The other party clearly stated that they would stop the sales. Moreover, when I showed them the prototype I had brought just in case, the president of their company took a great liking to it and expressed a desire to introduce it in their cafe space. An unexpected boost in sales added, I returned to the company with a lighter step. Seeing my buoyant mood, Patty realized that her scheme had failed. Angrily, she slammed a file on her desk to the floor. To sell information involving not only our company, but also a client to another company. You'll probably be dismissed for this. I was planning to quit this horrible company anyway. You'll regret losing a valuable employee like me. Of course, the one who ended up regretting it was Patty. After being dismissed, she struggled to find another job. She might have found work quickly if she wasn't picky about the job type or employer, but she insisted on working for a well-known company. Rumors had it that she was desperately contacting and asking colleagues to introduce her to whatever companies. However, no one could introduce someone who had been dismissed for misconduct, and without any prospects. Patty said she was taking a temporary job doing quality control in a factory until she found something permanent. Unfortunately, her habit of looking down on factory workers persisted. She was scolded daily for her attitude and reportedly cried to her former colleagues for help. For Patty's own good, I hoped she would be left to reflect on her past actions without assistance. Half a year after Patty's departure, the teapot I had developed was finally launched. It was a hit, much as expected, and we couldn't keep up with the production, much to the delight of our president and Mr. Holmes. One Saturday afternoon, I served tea made with that teapot to my wife. It's delicious. It truly has a special touch, just as you insisted on perfecting it. Flattered by my wife's praise, I ended up talking about its features. I made sure it had a rounded shape to facilitate the tea leaves jumping, and it also retains heat well. Watching me passionately describe it, my wife looked on with affection. We had chosen to live just the two of us without children, and enjoying tea together like this was an important time for us. For my own sake and for my wife's, I want to continue to be involved in developing products that allow us to enjoy even better tea.